All right. Activate Khabib navigation.
Send me a message, like location.
Okay. Khabib navigation. Directions to home.
Tell me, where?
Directions to home.
Whatever you want, doesn't matter. Ireland, New York, Brooklyn, or Moscow.
I don't want to go to Russia. Directions to home.
It is what it is. Hey, just send me a message, where? I'm gonna come, just send me a message. This is number one bullshit.
Welcome to Kyle Anthony's UFC betting show. I am Kyle Anthony, and welcome to the podcast. Welcome to the prediction show for UFC 242, Khabib Nurmagomedov versus Dustin Poirier. We're going to talk about 3 free plays that we have in this card. Normally we have 2. This is a great card. I actually do like 3 plays, so we're going to get into that. If you like UFC gambling, UFC advice, just UFC as a whole, definitely hit the subscribe button. Appreciate anyone who gives us a thumbs up and enjoys this content. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get right into the plays, the free play here. The main free play is on the main event of the evening between Khabib Nurmagomedov versus Dustin Poirier. Now this is a exciting fight. I mean, this is a fight as soon as it was announced, excited about it. Great stylistic fight, you know, your classic striker versus grappler. A lot of things to really take apart in this, and what Dustin has done to get to his rise, and then you've got what Khabib Nurmagomedov is doing and how he's doing it and how he's dominating and undefeated and the elite grappling. So we're going to get into all of that. The first thing we're talking about here is Khabib Nurmagomedov. He is currently at about a 410 price tag, and then you've got Dustin Poirier, who is, minus 410 price tag, and then you've got Dustin Poirier, who is plus 325. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about Khabib here. Now, I'm going to run down quickly, like I always do, their last 3 fights each, and kind of the things that I'm picking up on, something that maybe can be used in this fight on Saturday night for the lightweight title. So when you take a look here, you've got the first fight, or of the 3 we're talking about, is against Edson Barboza. Now, this was a fight here where really Khabib dominated. I mean, from bell to bell, it was pure domination. It was a 5-round fight. This was a fight where Khabib was talking to Dana White and you know, talking about how he wants to, you know, he should fight for the title, and really smashing Edson for the entire fight. And that was the fight. Again, you can't really take too much on this fight away, just because Edson doesn't really have the greatest takedown defense, and it's seen that really other people have exposed him when it come down to Kevin Lee beating him that way, where really that path to victory is wrestling to beat on Edson Barboza. So we'll talk about Edson a little bit later in this show as well. But that fight there, it was a dominating performance by Khabib. We don't really have much to really break down when it comes to Dustin, because Poirier is a pure striker, pure boxer. Not really much that's going to be happening here. But it does show that Khabib, when facing somebody like a pure striker, he's able to take them down. And now, the takedown defense is going to be a little bit different. Dustin, has better takedown defense overall. But then we go to the fight against Al Iaquinta. Now, the fight against Al Iaquinta, I think, is a very funny fight. And the reason I say that is because people who have watched the same fight, they really see this fight completely differently. I mean, there's some people that say Khabib dominated and easily walked all over Al Iaquinta. Then you've got people that said Al hung in there, he did great, he kept it close. You know, although, you knew he lost, but he kept it close and showed tenacity and all these things. For me here, I was on the side that Khabib dominated the fight. I mean, I don't think there's anything that you can say when you're looking at this fight and you're really giving, I give respect to Al Iaquinta because he was able to go out there and on a day notice and fight, a guy like Khabib. But this was a fight here where when you're looking at it, break it down, early on in that fight, Khabib almost had him dead to rights early in that fight. And I think part of me believes that actually Khabib wanted to go 5 rounds. Now, I know that sounds crazy, but part of me believes that Khabib was looking, although, I think there was definitely struggling opportunities there where Khabib couldn't get Al down, and Al definitely has wrestling credentials, so there's definitely that. But I think he wanted, he stood for a lot of that, later in that fight, and there was a lot of that going in there where Al started to, look decent because you're not really used to seeing Khabib stand and fight and just stand and box. And he did it for like 2 full rounds or whatever he did. And then he got back to his wrestling. But if you look at the stats, I think this is a telling sign. I mean, you look at the stats here, you've got total strikes landed. You've got Khabib landed 172 strikes overall. And you had Ally Quinta with 43 strikes landed overall. You have takedowns 6-0 for Khabib. And if you go on the rounds, you've got the first 3 rounds, you've got Ally Quinta, didn't land a significant strike in the first round, landed 3 in the second round, and landed 7 in the third round. And over that span, Khabib landed 13, 19, and 37, and it gets, it gets pretty much worse to the same effect later in that fight. So, I give respect to Ally Quinta here, and I think that people, talk too much about that. But to me, I didn't really see much where Al did a lot there. This was a great win for Khabib. He went out there and gets the championship belt and ended up beating Ally Quinta. And the last one we're talking about is Conor McGregor. The fight with Conor McGregor. This is a fight where, I was all over Khabib here. This was one that I really liked Khabib. And it was really because Conor was out for so long. I mean, when you're given not given, he earned it, but when you get $100 million and you come from really nothing, and he went from fighting, for very small arenas to bigger arenas to championship belts to Mayweather to all in a very short span, you can't really blame the guy for wanting to go out there and blow some cash and enjoy himself. But I felt that Khabib was so hungry that was the difference. That's another reason why I'd like to see another one of these between these two. But Khabib just was able to maul him, able to put him down, and I thought that was more of a telling sign of what you could see happening with Poirier in this fight, where he's able to fight a guy who's pretty much a complete striker and able to still get inside, still weather the storm, and still push forward, and still find opportunities to put damage and put him down and get that victory. So overall, we're going to talk about Dustin Poirier real quickly. And for me here, Poirier, you go over history, and I'm not going to dive into these. He faced Justin Gaethje. Gaethje, leg kicks were early on for him, and was able to withstand that and able to push forward in a fight that really showed how tough Poirier is. I mean, Poirier is absolutely tough where it comes to his leg. He was barely standing on one leg, and then he was able to still go out there, box, throw big shots, and put away Gaethje in that 4th round. Then he faced Eddie Alvarez. Eddie Alvarez, he pretty much, dominated Eddie. Eddie looked a lot slower. Eddie's tough, but looked a lot slower, and Poirier was able to get that finish in the 2nd round. And then the Max Holloway fight. Another fight, tough fight, and, you got to give credit to Max. Max, everyone, and even myself was like, Max should go up in weight. And after that fight, I was like, Max should definitely stay where he is. I mean, he's a dominant champion. He has been dominating over his career, who he's beat, who he's faced, and how he's beaten them, and finishing Aldo twice, and all these great things. But this was where Poirier was just too big for him. You could see the big hooks was really hurting his body. He really wasn't able to really do too much. He took some big shots, and then at certain spots he looked okay. But to me, it was pretty one-sided. There was a couple early rounds where it looked somewhat favorable, and Max did get some wins and round-wise. But overall, Poirier looked great and ends up getting that victory and getting the interim title. So with that all being said, when we're taking a look at this fight here, I mean, for me here, you look at the odds, obviously, of course, that's a big part of this. We look at the odds. You've got plus 325 on Poirier right now. Now, that is definitely something that intrigues me. That definitely intrigues me when you're talking about the odds, and that's what you want, implied probability, and there's definitely a lot of that goes into this, without a doubt. But when I'm taking a look at this fight, you've got Poirier's got the great boxing, great footwork, great hand speed, good combinations, and the thing that I like about Poirier too is that he's added leg kicks to his arsenal. That was something he never really did, and he's starting to do that now, and I think even off of the Gaethje fight, he's realizing how important that is when you are a complete striker, and he's not someone who's throwing spinning back kicks and all these other, he's looking to really stand in front of you and bang and work his angles. And if he starts working those leg kicks, that's an interesting fact of something he could possibly use against Khabib. And then now talking about a little bit more about Khabib on this side, is obviously his grappling. Obviously, you know, he's the kind of guy where if he's pushing for a takedown, and he's going to be pushing, he's not really deterred by one miss. He will keep putting chaining takedowns together, pushing forward. And the fact that also is that he's elevated his striking. Now, he's not some elite striker, but you can tell he is a lot more comfortable in the pocket. Without a doubt, very comfortable in the pocket now. And the fact that he's at least able to withstand some of the strikes and then shoot forward. Because a lot of people were really knocking him in the fight against Michael Johnson, where Michael Johnson landed some big shots and Khabib looked a little wobbled. But even in that fight, Khabib dominated that fight bell to bell. There was just early shots where Michael Johnson, who does have power, threw some big shots, and people aren't used to seeing Khabib just get hit. I mean, he's been so dominant, and I don't think he's even lost a round, or maybe one against actually Conor. But he has just been so dominant that when you see a guy so dominant get hit, it's almost like, wow, look what's happening. So in this fight here for me, I mean, I kept looking at the footage. I think the big thing for me here is that Poirier is going to have to be in grappling range for Khabib. And, you know, he likes to stand in front. He likes to, get his setting and throw those hooks. He loves the fact of, the boxing style, but the fact that he's squaring up and the fact that he likes to square up and throw those combinations. Yes, he's got power. Yes, he could absolutely land a big shot and knock out Khabib. But to me, I think that doesn't really set a great stylistic matchup for Dustin. Dustin has not faced over much of his career at all, faced an elite wrestler. And yes, you're going to train for it. Yes, you're going to get better. You're going to evolve and all these other things. But Khabib's doing that too. And when you're at a level of grappling that Khabib's at, you really need to have those credentials. And Poirier definitely is no slouch on the ground, but I just really like Khabib here. Now, I ended up getting Khabib at minus 380 when I placed my bet. It's up to anywhere now from minus 410 to minus 440 at this point right now. So it's been moving around. I was comfortable with the minus 380. I like the price there. I kept saying to myself, I do not want to pay more than that. This is the most that I am willing to pay at minus 380. So it shot up. Money is definitely going in on Khabib, but I can't blame anyone taking Poirier here. And that plus money, I mean, getting a guy like Poirier at plus 325, I cannot blame anybody for taking that price. But for me, as my main free play, I'm going Khabib Nurmagomedov to win in the main event. Now, I'm going to quickly go over these two that I also like as well. And it's Andrea Lee versus Calderwood. Now, this is a fight where, breaking it down, Lee is someone who I didn't like early on when she first came to the UFC. I thought it was a little too soon for her. I thought maybe she wasn't, really going to piece together those combinations, not really face the elite level. And I thought she's looked great since she showed up. I mean, really, she's good kickboxing. She's really able to, work her angles. And I like her footwork also. She is someone else that I think is very, very underrated kickboxing and footwork for somebody that, that really hasn't seen the elite level. So for someone up against Calderwood, and again, give you the odds, Calderwood plus 190, Lee is minus 210. Calderwood is very slow. And I think her combinations develop slow. I don't really like what she does when she kind of stands still a little bit, when she's in the cage and she's looking to strike and kind of stays in a position. Those are spots where I think Lee absolutely dominates this fight. And I think that she goes forward. I think that there's not much that I really like about overall Calderwood and the competition level she's faced and who she's beat. It's just not enough for me. Here, I'm paying up. I'm willing to pay up for Lee. I think Lee gets the job done. I think she does it in great fashion. Again, this is another stylistic matchup where I think that they want Lee to win this. I think UFC wants to push her a little bit. I think this is a good matchup for her. She's going to be quicker. Calderwood going to be slower. I think Lee gets this job done. Also, she's very good off of the cage. Even when there's pressure, she's very good at slipping outside and finding space. So for me here, as my other free play, I am going Andrea Lee minus 210 to get the victory. And the last one, going to run through these last two very quickly. Time is, very, very at the premium at this point. But the last one we're talking about is the co-main event between Paul Felder and Edson Barboza. Edson Barboza is minus 154, and Paul Felder is plus 126. So looking at this fight, I mean, this is going to be a great fight here. You got two guys, strikers, dynamic, have a lot of weapons, you know, really shoot from different, creative with their striking. Barboza's kickboxing is off the charts. His power. You've got Felder, who is another guy who's very creative with his striking, spinning back fists, has a lot to offer. But for me, you know, Paul Felder, I think is a great fighter. I think he is such a great fighter. I think that he really brings a lot to the table when he's out there. And, you know, he's had a couple close loss, and he broke his arm in one fight and still finished it, and he's a tough guy. But to me, the big thing here, and the path to victory to beating Edson Barboza, is really the pressure and wrestling. That has just been over his career. That's what's given him a lot of trouble. And Barboza, if you give him space, he's able to really put your lights out. He's able to really work those snapping kicks that he can do. And I think that's something where you take a look against Paul Felder. Paul Felder's output is very low. I mean, he is just known to have a very low output. Where this is another spot where you've got Edson Barboza, who's a kickboxer, who's going to push forward, and who's going to be able to be comfortable in space. And Paul Felder's not going to have enough push forward to really smother him. Any aspect of that. I like Barboza here. The price is good. I actually was hoping for it to be a little bit lower, but I like the price here at minus 154. I think that really overall, there's not much that if you don't have that volume against Barboza, or you can't really smother him, and you're going to be on the outside, and Paul Felder is not as quick, in my opinion, when it comes to throwing out combinations compared to Barboza, is not going to have the wrestling. And overall, I think this has got Barboza written all over it. So for me, I'm taking Edson Barboza as my last free play. So those are my plays for UFC 242. We've got Khabib Nurmagomedov to win. We've got Andrea Lee to win. And we also have Edson Barboza to win. Now, we will have the bet review show out on Sunday. And let me know what you guys are thinking, what you guys think about the main event, who's taking Poirier, because I do not blame you on that, but I just don't see a scenario where Khabib loses in the main event. So let me know. I appreciate everybody who subscribes, likes these videos. Always enjoy doing them. Always enjoy the conversation down below in the comment section. And this is Kyle Anthony's UFC Betting Show, and I'll see you at the bet review.